Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto Got His Wish, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Sasuke, who possessed the Sharingan, didn't have to wait for the smoke to clear to know that the roof of the cavern was now entirely covered with frogs the size of men. Most of them looked similar to each other, colored red-orange and wearing strange plated armor, but the two nearest Naruto, sticking to the ceiling at his left and right hands, seemed oddly distinguished, as though they were somehow regal among their fellows. One of these, colored red, turned to look at his summoner. "Yo, been a while, Naruto," it said. "Hey, Gamakichi. You too, Gamatatsu." "Hello," cheerily replied the second frog, colored yellow. Naruto smiled in acknowledgement of the happy, if hopelessly daft, second son of the frog boss, then indicated the enemy below. "I've brought some friends for you guys to meet," he said. "Let's all give them a really warm greeting." Gamakichi nodded in understanding. Gamatatsu happily raised a foreleg and waved enthusiastically at the snakes below, earning himself some hissing jeers. Then, Naruto dropped onto the ground below, fanned his tails, and came straight for Sasuke with twin kunai enhanced by the raid. Sasuke gathered himself and fought, being especially watchful for incoming Razingans. However, Naruto was busy trying to evade the snakes at his feet. They snapped and wreathed in their attempt to snare him again, and his divided attention made it difficult to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish. Eventually, however, it was done. He launched a half-hearted Rasengan at Sasuke's abdomen, knowing it would only be parried with a Chidori-enhanced blade, and leaped backward. As he landed in the small, man-made river, he whistled. Gamakichi understood that to be the signal, and he croaked the order to his brigade. The frogs inhaled briefly, then all of them, with the exception of Gamatatsu, who was busy commenting on how big a place the cavern was, spewed forth as much frog oil as they had been able to hold. The slick liquid coated the floor. Sasuke watched this, and wondered what this meant. Then his Sharingan noticed the seal that Naruto had written with detached ghostly arms on the ground beneath. Recognizing the pattern, Sasuke sprang towards the river where Naruto hid to try to stop him, but it was too late. Naruto brought his chakra-fed arm sweeping across the seal, activating it. The relatively small explosion would have been easy to avoid, but the flames spread along the floor on wings of frog oil, engulfing the floor of the room in searing flames. The snakes wreathed in agony for a few moments and then disappeared. Sasuke barely leaped up in time to escape being incinerated. Clinging to the wall with chakra at his feet and cursing his old teammates' resourcefulness, his hands shaped a surprise of his own. Kaiten, Kansutsu no Jutsu. Fire style, fire command technique. With his dominating will and generations of Uchiha fire mastery at his disposal, Sasuke concentrated and bent nature to his desire. The flames peeled from the ground, rising up and forming into a sphere. As more fire was collected, the sphere grew and grew until it was nearly as wide as the cavern was high, floating just a few feet away from Sasuke's outstretched hands. The frogs, watching the spectacle from above, were discomforted. "This isn't good," Gamakichi said. "That thing could do some serious damage, even if he's not aiming for us. Everyone, we've done what we came to do. Retreat." The frog brigade gladly obeyed his command. Even Gamatatsu had no desire to get better acquainted with the burning ball that shone like the sun. All of them puffed out of existence to return to their own world. The Uchiha boy sweat profusely, both from heat and from strain. Even as powerful as he was, controlling this amount of flame was approaching his limits. He had to let it go quickly, or he would waste much chakra. With a heave and a grunt, he hurled his ball of fire down upon Naruto's hiding place. Sakura regarded the massive door before her and was daunted. A thing of such great size and thickness had never existed anywhere in Konoha before, and even she, with all her strength, could not shove it open. Apparently, it had been made to admit only those who knew its secrets or were attuned to it. She reached for her radio, intending to contact Kakashi and ask for help. Before she could say anything, however, a gigantic concussion boomed from behind the door, and Sakura was shaken off of her feet. She managed to get up quickly, which was fortunate, for no sooner had she gained her footing than the door, whose enormous shape had been rent with cracks in the concussion, began to crumble to dust on top of her. As she was on her feet, she escaped unharmed, though not unsurprised. Sakura, what was that? Kakashi's voice said over the radio. Some kind of shock wave, she said. It came from behind a huge stone door. I was going to tell you about it, but the concussion see me off. But the door is broken now. I'm going to have a look inside. Be careful, Sakura, said Kakashi. I will. It sounds quiet on the other side, but I won't let that fool me. I'll call back soon. She climbed over the wreckage of the door and into the room. Inside it was what she would have expected to see at ground zero of such a blast. The stone all around her was charred, and fissures were running out from the impact zone. The stalactites and stalagmites in the immediate vicinity had been atomized. Sakura could see a smooth groove running through the floor on either side of the impact zone, and saw signs of erosion within. There had been water running through there. Most likely, the explosion had evaporated it. But most importantly, Sakura noted two things. First, there was no sign of B, living or D, anywhere in the cave. Second, there was a jagged hole in the ceiling, through which the starry night sky was visible. Kakashi-sensei, she said into the microphone, I'm on the right track. The two of them were definitely here. They left through an exit that they made themselves. I'm going to follow them. Catch up when you can. Wait, Sakura. You shouldn't go alone. Wait for us. No, she said. Now that they're out of this confined space, they could go anywhere quickly. I have to stay on them, or they'll be lost. But, Sakura discarded her radio and anything else that would hinder her progress. If she was going to keep up with her teammates, she would have to travel light. Leaving herself with only her shuriken holster and a small medical pouch, she leaped up the hole in the roof. She didn't see either one of them, but it was not hard to guess the direction they had taken. A trail of rock shards and B pointed towards the lights of the village before it disappeared into the dark forest. Without hesitation, she started off after it. Soon after beginning the chase. Yes, I'm not too late, she thought. Abruptly, the trees ended, and she found herself leaping into a newly formed crater. Landing in its center, she looked around for the combatants. Within seconds, she found them. Naruto was on her left, 5 meters away. Sasuke was on her right, 5 meters away. Naruto held the Rasengan out before him in his hand, a look of panic on his face. Sasuke held out his hand, crackling with the noise of 1,000 birds, regarding her with an expression of mild bewilderment. The Kamizuru, the bee-using clan of the rock, cheered as the gates of the Aberame hive cluster finally gave way. They had been assaulting it relentlessly for hours, losing many lives in an effort to open the way into the heart of their enemy's stronghold. Now, the Aberame fell back in panic before them as the gates toppled to the earth, and the Kamizuru reveled in their triumph. With as much elation as his fellows, the Kamizuru captain ordered his subordinates to storm the hives. Men, women, and bees plunged forth after their defeated foe, ready to rest at leisure. It seemed that nothing could hope to stop them now. At long last, the grudge that they had upheld for the Aberame would find expression in Destrucitan. Yet, one thing that they had not counted on quickly showed its face, the face of a young, pale-skinned woman with lengthy deep blue hair and white eyes. Veins were visible, popping up in their skin around the eye sockets, rendering the otherwise beautiful face into an intimidating mask. For all the intimidation it should have had, however, the Kamizuru were undaunted. What, after all, could one girl do to hinder their assault? Their lack of hesitation was their downfall. They hurled their bees at her, intending to deal with her quickly, only to have those bees be seized down by the droves in the fire of the girl's flashy defensive technique. This surprised the Kamizuru, but it did not stop them. It merely made them send more bees, and kunai and shuriken on top of that. This tactic of overwhelming the girl's defense might have worked if she were alone. Using the young woman's deadly defensive grid as a rallying point, the Aberame mounted their counterattack. The entire hive swarmed out from behind her, engulfing the bugs that the Shugo hack technique did not catch and coming down in a wave against the Kamizuru lines. Angered at this turn of events, the Kamizuru attacked with more force than ever. Yet, they could not move past the girl, whose technique proved to serve the Aberame better than their fallen gates had for protection. From beyond this absolute defense, the Aberame attacked without fear of retaliation. No more Aberame were lost that night. The Kamizuru, unable to penetrate this new defense, lost nearly everything, again. The Aburame were not the only ones in Konoha to turn the tide. At the moment Hinata appeared to take charge of the defense, Konoha's citizens finished evacuating, and the Hokage gave the order to launch the final defense. From the tower, over 100 ninja, fresh and healthy, burst forth to attack the battle-weary legions of Sound and Rock. Shikamaru, Ino, and Chuji were the first to take the field. Shikamaru bound with his shadow the first three enemies in their path. One of the enemies was nimble enough to escape the incoming hamhand, but he didn't go 10 yards before he was immobilized again, this time, by Ino, using her genjutsu binding technique. Unable to move, he could do nothing but scream in agony as Chuji crushed him between both immense hands. Behind Ino Shikachu came Maito Gai, flanked by Sarutobi Asuma and Yuri Kurenai. They had been designated to fight in the same unit, and they did so with almost mystical brilliance. Gai tended to draw a lot of attention to himself, and Asuma, with his wind-enhanced chakra blades, was excellent backup against those that managed to escape the noble blue beast's grasp. Between these two causing so much damage, it was not surprising that Kurenai was able to snare and pick off so many hapless foes who were ignoring her. Wave upon wave of Konoha ninja came out of the tower, crashing down on their unready foes. A great cheer went up in the ranks of the Leaf as they saw the Hyuga take the field alongside them, headed by the famous Hyashii-sama and a woman whose forehead blazed with blue-yellow chakra. When asked, a Hyuga branch house member informed his inquisitive comrade that the woman was Captain Haruka, the leader of the Hyuga clan's elite guard force, and the savior of all Hyuga. Even at this, many deaths might have been suffered on both sides, if the most powerful shinobi in the entire village had not come personally to the battlefield. Tsunade, the Godime Hokage, waded through the chaos, taking life with the application of two inhumanely strong hands, saving lives with her legendary healing abilities. Enemy after enemy was down before her while ally after ally got to his feet and began to fight again. The enemy force of Rock and Sound began to suffer casualties at an abominable rate. Fearing total annihilation, their leaders ordered a swift retreat. Evil comrades shoved and clawed at each other to find room to run, and a moderate number were trampled to death before their allies remembered that they were ninja and could leap across rooftops. They made good progress in spite of this, and the 100 or so elite Junin that remained might have made it out of the gates and into the forest. Unluckily for them, they found a whole other army of shinobi waiting for them beyond Konoha's walls. Frozen in place at the sight of so many fresh foes, the Rock and the Sound looked fearfully around them for some way that they could escape. "There is no escape," came a soft voice from the trees. From the shadows of the forest came a singly young man, walking slowly to meet the surrounded enemy ninja. The young man's hair was red, and he carried a large gourd on his back. Rings of darkness encircled his eyes, which scrutinized their intended victims without pity. Sand rushed out from the gourd, filling the air above the trapped enemy. It hovered like a death sentence while its wielder spoke. "You have many of our allies tonight," said Sabaku no Gara, Kazekage of the village hidden in the sand. "For that, retribution will be swift and remorseless." He knelt on the ground and shoved both palms dramatically into the earth. Sabaku Taiso. Desert funeral. The sand fell like a meteor, simultaneously crushing and burying the last of the fleeing invaders. All that was left of them was a rugged imprint on the ground where the sand had fallen. There remained a few living enemies in the village, successfully hidden away in the shadows. The Leaf and the Sand stormed together through Konoha, beginning the long and tiresome process of fishing them out. When at last the dust settled in the Aburame's yard, Hinata and Shino sat together, gulping down water, resting after their well-earned victory. They were in no hurry to go to the Hyuga compound. A Chunin had given them the news of the victory there already. "You did very well, Hinata," Shino said between gasps of air. "On behalf of all of my clansmen, I thank you. It was the least that I could do, for a friend and comrade," Hinata said, smiling. She took another draught of water and leaned back against the wall, relaxing after her exertion. She rarely used the Shugo hack technique for such an extended period of time, but it was well worth it. Not a single bee had passed her, and as a result the enemy had been decimated within moments of her arrival. And still she had energy to spare. This was a sign of improvement, and Hinata took great pride in herself for it. She and Shino sat in silence for a while, catching their breath and watching the other Abare move around them, cleaning up the battlefield. The screams of the dying and the clang of metal weaponry had died away in the village. They knew that the attack had burned itself out, and took comfort in it. Hinata's comfort, however, was extremely brief. Suddenly, Shino's head perked up. Kiba is coming, he said. He was alone. Kiba-kun. Hinata stood up and caught her injured teammate as he collapsed to his knees. Kiba-kun, what happened to you? Hanabi, he croaked, wiping his mouth, he strained to finish his tale. Hanabi and I didn't get along. She ran, cough I followed. Cough, cough I fought. Lost. They took Hanabi. That was all that Kiba was able to say, for he lost consciousness in the next moment. Hinata lowered him gently to the ground, pulling a canister of medicine from a pouch at her side. After quickly administering it to the wound on his chest, she stood and addressed Shino. Shino-kun, did you hear all of that? Yes, I did, came the sullen reply. They've taken my sister. I have to go find her, now. Can you come with me? Shino paused for a moment, his eyes upon his fallen comrade as two Aberame hefted him up using their bugs as a makeshift stretcher, hauling him off to emergency medical help. The hive within me has suffered many losses this night, he said. And I myself am suffering from exhaustion and, I believe, at least one fractured rib. In my current state, I may not be very useful. However, those who did this to Kiba may not be easy for you to defeat alone, especially since you yourself are tired. For that reason, as well as to revenge Kiba, I will accompany you if you wish me to. Hinata received his words with a sad smile. Shino might have appeared dispassionate, but he was a loyal comrade and a caring friend all the same. No, Shino-kun, she said kindly, you rest. If you are too hurt to be useful, then it isn't worth risking yourself. I will go alone. Are you certain that is wise? Shino asked. You alone against multiple skilleder? Probably not, Hinata admitted. But, that isn't any reason to give up. We have been sadly estranged for most of our lives, but Hanabi is still my younger sister. I must protect her. She picked up her equipment, making sure all was secure before departing. When she was certain that she was ready, she bade her comrade goodbye. I will avenge Kiba-kun for you, and I will save my sister. I promise you, Shino-kun. You can be sure that I will keep that promise. She smiled one last time and was gone in the next instant. Beneath his hood, Shino also smiled, an expression that none could see. She is becoming more like him with each passing day, he remarked. The collision of the two techniques resulted in the same cataclysmic explosion that it had 3 years in the past. Unlike in that fated incident, however, the battle did not end immediately afterward. Both combatants, as well as their unexpected guest, were sent hurtling backward off their feet. Naruto was the first to rise, followed shortly by Sasuke. Both of them looked at the pink-haired medical ninja on the ground to Naruto's right, who was rubbing her head as she climbed shakily to her feet again. Sakura! Exclaimed Naruto. Sakura! Intoned Sasuke in a low voice. Sakura regained her wits, and took a step towards them both. Naruto, Sasuke-kun, she began, her voice steady and clear. If you're going to beg us to stop fighting, it's too late for that, interrupted the Uchiha. Sakura, stay back, warned Naruto, he's serious. He's almost killed me twice now, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to give you any special treatment either. Looking at the blonde, Sakura could tell that he wasn't kidding. She noticed that he kept both of those eyes trained on Naruto, not even bothering to look at her. The realization opened old wounds, but she would not let herself be defeated by it. She had not been training so intensely in the past 3 years to be useless here. This time, she would make a difference. Despite Naruto's warning, she stepped forward. Sakura! Cried Naruto. Stop. No, Naruto, she said calmly, I'm going to help. Try as you might, you won't stop me. But, Naruto, she snapped, you have to understand. I've got to do this. Sasuke-kun is my teammate, too. I told you before, Sasuke said, I am not going to associate with Konoha anymore. I have nothing against you, but if you get in my way, I won't be merciful. He glared at her and Naruto alternately, watching her approach the blonde. She set her hand to Naruto's shoulder, beginning to heal it. Not wanting to give Naruto an opportunity to recover, he charged. Though he had lost his sword in the blazing aftermath of the fireball that shattered the cavern arena, he was more than capable without it. Naruto and Sakura leaped in opposite directions, Naruto going left and Sakura to Sasuke's right. Having never considered Sakura much of a threat, Sasuke pursued the more dangerous and more physically exhausted Naruto first. Without his sword, he resorted to taijutsu that he had not often used in recent months. Naruto kept up. Ignoring Sakura turned out not to be so advantageous, however. The ground split suddenly beneath his feet, causing him to reel off balance. This momentary lack of coordination allowed Naruto to score a glancing hit to his good side. Naruto met him back on the ground, whirling his tails around like a sledgehammer at Sasuke. The Uchiha boy blocked the mass of chakra with both arms, but he was sent flying yet again, straight into the path of more shuriken. Drawing a kunai knife, he deflected them all effortlessly, landing, finally, unmolested, but extremely frustrated. Though it was clear that he could easily keep up with both Naruto and Sakura, there was no way that he could find an opening to do serious damage while they worked together. Sakura, he said, you have never been more annoying. Sakura looked him squarely in the eyes, her face serious, keeping her calm in spite of the turmoil that Sasuke could see behind her eyes. I said before, she said, mimicking his tone from earlier, that I would do anything for you, Sasuke-kun. That includes fighting you, and if necessary, hurting you. If you continue to fight me, Sakura, I will kill you. Sakura swallowed heavily. She knew he meant it. Better that I die than Naruto, she said, causing both of her teammates' eyes to widen. He's always done what's best for both of us. He did the most to try to save you 3 years ago, even to the brink of death, and he is the most capable now. If my death helps him to save you, then so be it. Sakura, Naruto said softly. He was astonished at what he was hearing. 3 years ago, such a speech would have made him cry. Sakura, shaking slightly now, went on. And if at the end you still won't be saved, then maybe Kami can help you in your quest for revenge. It could help you win the Mangekyo Sharingan. Either way, if I die here, it will be a death that will ultimately help you, Sasuke-kun, though I'd much rather help you in life. Sasuke pondered this, momentarily speechless. Could one person be so devoted as this to another? Sakura, would you really die willingly for me? He asked. Die just so I can have the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sakura inhaled deeply. Yes, I would, if I had to. If you had that power, then you wouldn't need Orochimaru. You could have your revenge and still have yourself afterward. A memory came back to Sasuke, one of him walking through the woods, wounded from his fight with Naruto, swearing that he would not follow Itachi's path, taking an oath to gain power in his own way. Yet here was a willing sacrifice that could possibly make all of his bargaining with the Snake Sannin unnecessary. But, is she important enough to me? Sasuke asked himself, closing his eyes. More memories. Sakura weeping over him after the battle in the Wave Country. Sakura bravely fighting the monster Gaara to help him. Sakura trying desperately to persuade him not to leave the village. He opened his eyes. Sakura stood before him, willing to give her life even if all she did was aid his revenge, a personal quest that she didn't really understand. Sasuke took it all in, and he felt something in him stir. He was moved. Yes, he thought, it just might be enough. Sakura, he said, filling his hand with the power of Chidori, thank you. He lunged, dragging the lethal jutsu through the hard ground as he had when he was younger. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. What? Itachi murdered his family for power. You, Sasuke, were about to murder Sakura, who, along with me and Kakashi-sensei, is about the only family you've got left, so that you can get the same power. He gently put the unconscious Sakura on the ground behind the tree she had been crushed on, then stood tall as he accused his former comrade. Your two ambitions were to kill Itachi and restore your clan, right? He continued. Well, the second one became impossible when you left, missing Nin-san. Nobody's going to help you rebuild Uchiha now. And the first one isn't going to happen either, because even if you do kill your brother, Itachi lives on in you, Sasuke. His eyes began to turn from blue to red, and the chakra in his 9 tails combusted into brilliant red flame. Naruto gathered his breath and yelled into Sasuke's face. Congratulations, leaving the village, murdering your family, doing whatever it takes for power without caring about anything else. You are now officially the very thing that you set out to destroy. Sasuke's eyes grew wide and his mouth tightened. Then he began to tremble with rage. An old mark on his neck, which had been unused for years, began to burn and expand across his pale skin. No, he said softly. Then his voice became a yell. No, I am different from him. Sakura wanted to give me the power. He stole it. Do not compare me to him. Willing or not, you were still going to K her. Naruto shot back. No power is worth K, friend. Idiot. Shut up. The two of them. Hey, gasped one sound nin, slow down. We've been running full out for 10 minutes, now, and me with a broken arm. There's nobody around us, why don't we rest a little? Because, you idiot, replied his companion, leaping onto another tree, our prisoner here is a high-value target. Do you think they'll let us have her so easily? That kid got away, and we don't know if the dog is still tailing us or not. The first one groaned as he grabbed another handhold with his good arm. Why did we have to take her, then? Impatiently, his comrade explained, those bumbling fools who were tripping over each other in retreat aren't going about it the right way. Even if they aren't caught by the leaf, and they will be, it is impossible to hide from Orochimaru-sama. Every one of them will mark my words. However, we've got ourselves a treasure. If we ship out to another country across the sea before anyone misses us, we've got a good chance of not being caught. Then we can ransom this kid off and have enough money to live comfortably for a good long while. Don't you think that's better than dying? The first sound nin had to admit that it was a good idea, even if the odds were 1 in 50 that it would actually work. He resolved to go through with it. Suddenly, a loud noise off in the distance made both of them halt in their trees and turn to look. They could see only smoke, but with the echoes of the noise, they began to feel something. And a large something it was, so much so that the ninja with the broken arm was compelled to cringe and start shivering. Do you feel that? He asked fearfully. Yeah, replied his friend. A massive chakra. You too. Then, have they found us? Whether they have or not, I'm not going to hang around to find out. Come on, let's. But it seemed that, out, was the word that brought little Hyuga girls back to consciousness, for their captive had suddenly seized advantage of the distraction and twisted in the sound ninja's grip, bringing her palm to bear against his abdomen. Juken. Hanabi's captor keeled over, dropping her. She grabbed hold of a branch and caught herself before she hit the ground, and hauled herself up onto it. Quickly, she turned to meet the other sound ninja's attack. However, the attack didn't come. Instead, the ninja with the broken arm regarded her with a grim smile. He deserved that, he said, thinking of hostages when he should have been running for his life. Now his hesitations put both of us in danger of that, whatever it is that's out there. Serves him right. He's on his own now, and I'm out of here. I hope you can find your people fast, that thing out there is big, whatever it is. With that, he vanished into the trees to seek safety in the far corners of the earth. Hanabi caught her breath, relaxed out of her battle stance. Then she turned towards the village. I will not need to be rescued again. Let the monster come, if it wants. Either way, I'm going home. The forest surrounding the crater was ablaze. The Uchiha Avenger, strong with the fire-attuned B of his clan, and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, whose feral chakra expressed a hunger for destruction with brilliant flame, met in the center, and their anic struggle left nothing unscathed. Everything in the crater that could burn, burned. And anything could burn when touched by Naruto's Kyuubi-tainted tails of light. With fire all around him, Sasuke, his cursed seal wrapped around him with serpentine blackness, had an infinite amount of ammunition to use with his fire-controlling jutsu. Flames from all sides were plucked from their sources, trees, bushes, fallen logs, moss, and sent hurling as blazing missiles towards the enraged Jinchuriki by the hundreds. 9 fiery tails swatted at him, batting them into the ground, turning the crater into an inferno. Through this constant rain of flames and across the wasted earth, the two old rivals struggled to wipe one another out with their claws, feet, elbows and knees, whatever was convenient at the moment. Sasuke's Sharingan detected every move of his opponent's body, and he blocked it easily. Chakra would lash out at him, but more often than not he could dodge it or deflect it with a gout of flame. They exchanged hundreds of blows in the space of the 40 seconds in which this dragged on, before Naruto attempted a death blow from an aerial flip. His foot came downward with massive force, intent on splitting Sasuke's skull. The Avenger evaded nimbly, and the Jinchuriki's foot came down hard into the ground that his tails had melted and stuck fast. Even with the Kyuubi's enormous strength, Naruto had to labor to pull it out, and that inconvenience afforded Sasuke a free attack. Taking the opportunity, the cursed Uchiha swiftly and solidly delivered his own foot into his old rival's chin, knocking him loose of the molten ground and high into the air. Sasuke grinned and followed up the attack, ceasing the constant barrage of flames and instead gathering the rampant fires all up into a single, ball-shaped destructive blaze. It was much larger than the ball from the cave, and this time Naruto was in the air, unable to run away. This time, massive damage would be inflicted. With a great cry and a final hand sign, Sasuke sent the burning ball of death roaring at Naruto. As it flew, the flickering flames began to darken to purple, and then to black as evil power infused it. Kaiten, Hoshinsei no Jutsu. He crowed. Fire style, Fire Nova technique. Naruto and Kyuubi had one thing in common. Neither of them would allow himself to die. In both of his hands, Naruto gathered an enormous ball of swirling chakra, pulsing with bright, blue power. From without, the 9 tails of light, filled so full of the Kyuubi's power that they literally burned, stroked the ball, adding the B-red chakra of the monster fox. As the 2 chakras converged inside the swirling mass, the ball swelled until it was larger than Naruto himself. The dark ball of flame was nearly upon him. Thrusting with both hands, Naruto pushed his creation between himself and death. I'm not dying yet. Udama Rasengan. Great spiraling sphere. The ball of twin chakras encountered the ball of black flame, and while the amount of power in each might have been equal, the maelstrom of swirling motion within the enhanced Rasengan prevailed. The black flame was engulfed and utterly consumed by Naruto's technique. The Rasengan kept falling along with its master, now swirling with 3 colors, blue, red, and black. Sasuke was displeased. You're not going to beat me with my own jutsu, Naruto. He called more flame to his hands from the burning forest. With his curse-tainted chakra, he created a frame. This is his trump card from 3 years ago, Sasuke thought. But now it has a name. Kyuubi. He recalled what Orochimaru had told him about the monster. It was inside Naruto, where his chakra mixed together with the boy's freely, accelerating his healing, increasing his stamina, and during a time when Naruto was in mortal danger or had extremely heightened emotions, even taking precedence over Naruto's normal chakra. But the trigger is in the mind, and the mind is in the domain of the Sharingan, Sasuke remembered. If I wanted to, I could suppress this power. He watched as Naruto dragged his body back up to its feet and fanned his tails out threateningly. The blonde Jinchuriki was roaring in frustration and anger. The Avenger pondered. However, using the power seems to cause him trouble as much as it helps him. In this condition, his thoughts are unstable, and he has to fight with the monster inside him for control. All that growling is as much because of Kyuubi as it is because of me. If I can get him mad enough, he might get so wrapped up in his inner turmoil that he'll be unable to fight me, and then I can easily finish him. He grinned to himself. And wouldn't it be ironic if the power that confused me 3 years ago could be used to defeat him now? Then his thoughts were disrupted by a flash from high above them. Flares. His friends are out looking for us. And without a doubt they'll have sensed our chakra and know exactly where to find us. I have to move this battle, now. Sasuke flashed a wise smile at his opponent. Well, Naruto, he said, it's been fun. But it looks like I don't have time to finish this. He gathered the last of the embers from the smoldering forest and flung them at Naruto's face. Immediately, he took off into the trees. Naruto, angry, swatted the fireball out of the air and followed him. You're not running away again, Sasuke. He yelled. Kyuubi pulled at his concentration, seeking dominance. Grunting, Naruto worked to force him down, even as he ran after his lost friend. In Konoha, the battle was over. The Hyuga had cheered along with the other shinobi, and Haruka had been pleased to hear that some of them praised her name. The days when she had lost all hope of ever getting along with her clansmen again were a hazy memory. Now she was drunk on all of the hero worship that had been lavished upon her. They had praised her even more than they had Hiashi. Best of all, the clan head hadn't seemed to mind the fact that he'd been upstaged. Instead, he thanked her, and all of his loyal guards followed suit. The lesser warriors had all smiled, bowed, and saluted her as she passed them. I would have settled for being allowed to go near them in broad daylight, but this is definitely a welcome change, she thought. Now, I just have one more, thank you, to collect. She crossed the last stretch of street to Keisuke's gate and threw it open with a resounding clang. Walking boldly up the path to the house, she had a smug expression on her face that she planned to keep for several hours as she extorted favors of Grodd from the occupant within. Haruka swaggered inside the open door and called out loudly to her partner. Hey, blind man, great father, Keisuke of the grave, unseeing idiot extraordinaire. Crawl out of whatever hole you're hiding in and worship me like the rest of this town. When she did not immediately hear a voice or the sound of blind feet tripping over furniture, she walked further inside and made her way towards his common chamber. Throwing open the sliding door, she yelled again. Keisuke, Tadaima, the savior of your people requires thanking. When there was again no answer, Haruka began to get annoyed. Fine. If you're so reluctant to come out and thank me, I'll drag you out. Byakugan. Veins around her eye sockets bulged in her skin as her dujutsu activated. Looking through the entire house simultaneously, she searched for her hidden partner. She searched for 5 minutes. Nothing. He had better not be hiding halfway across town to avoid me, she said. Yet, a feeling of wrongness had begun to creep beneath her skin, and her annoyed expression had softened to an emotion that the once outcast Hyuga woman almost never displayed, worry. Then, her enhanced vision fell upon something she had overlooked, a scrap of paper on the table that hadn't been there when she'd left. Stepping hesitantly into the room, she turned off her Byakugan and moved towards it. Her knees were shaking and her breath came unexpectedly ragged. Suddenly the air seemed icily cold. Reaching down with a trembling hand, Haruka picked up the note and held it in front of her face. No way, she whispered, her face turning deathly white. Keisuke, you bastard, this isn't the time for your damned jokes. But as the cold enveloped her and she let the note fall from her hand, Haruka knew that it was no joke. The paper landed face up on the floor, where moonlight illuminated the words. The Rokujuyon Reud will be mine. Following footprints had been difficult in the village, and it was impossible to do so when her quarry had leaped through trees. Her best bet, then, was to move deep into the woodlands, keeping her Byakugan active and her head on a swivel. She did so without much luck. Then, a huge presence washed over her senses. 2 distinct chakras, both of them huge, were not too far away from her. They made her nervous. It probably wasn't Hanabi or her kidnappers, but whatever it was likely wasn't friendly. Hinata looked towards it, focusing all of the power of the Byakugan in that one direction. She confirmed that neither chakra was friendly to Konoha. But a shock ran down her spine as recognition flashed in her head. She didn't know what the purple-black chakra was, but she did know the Idini of the feral, red kind. Hinata was saved from further useless worrying by a loud and frenzied bark below her. Peering downward, the young Hyuga recognized a friend. Akamaru-kun, she cried. She leaped down to the ground to meet him, inspecting his condition. Oh, Akamaru-kun, that sea on your side looks awful. Did Kiba-kun order you away from the battle because of it? Akamaru gave a low whimper and curled his head into his fur. It was obvious that the big dog was ashamed of having been unable to help his master. Hinata took the meaty beast's head in both of her hands, stroking it soothingly. Don't worry, Kiba-kun is going to live, she said. Akamaru seemed somewhat comforted. Hinata, satisfied that the beast was all right, continued speaking. Did Kiba-kun also ask you to follow the bad men and my sister? Akamaru seemed to remember something, for he instantly broke free of Hinata's grasp, turned to face into the forest, and barked urgently. He lowered himself to the ground, waiting for the girl to mount him. Hinata smiled and sighed in relief. Thank you, Akamaru-kun, she said, climbing on. Please hurry. I need to get Hanabi back home before that terrible chakra finds her. Akamaru understood perfectly, and was off without any further hesitation. The wind ruffled his fur and blew in Hinata's dark hair as he bounded at full bestial speed toward his target. From his back, the Hyuga girl looked off into the distance, observing the gigantic chakras that she saw there. It seemed that both of them were evenly matched in terms of raw power, and neither one looked ready to stop. Then, the black chakra began moving rapidly away from its opponent. The red chakra surged angrily. Naruto-kun, Hinata worried, I want to help you, but I must save Hanabi first. Please hold out until I get there. Akamaru stopped abruptly and began sniffing the air. After a few moments, he began whimpering. Concerned, Hinata spoke softly to the animal. What is it, Akamaru-kun? Did you lose the scent? Don't worry, I'm sure you can. But the dog whimpered again. Turning to face northeast, he stamped his paws uncomfortably and gave a loud, fearful bark. Hinata realized that he had not lost the scent at all. He was worried about something else. Looking in the direction in which he faced, Hinata tried to see what it was. Is this the direction the scent goes, Akamaru-kun? An affirmative growl and a tossing of the head. Oh, but that's. Hinata paused, horrified. That's the same direction they're going. Sasuke. Roared Kyubi, Naruto. Come back here and fight. He raced after Sasuke on all fours, burning tails waving behind him, or torching whatever got in his way. Be it plant, rock, or animal, nothing impeded the enraged Jinchuriki's progress. And as Sasuke continued to evade him, his rage only increased. Good, Sasuke thought. The madder he gets, the closer I am to ending this. And while we're running around, the pursuers will have to work to catch us. I didn't expect this fight to take so long, but now I know the extent of his power. He leaped from tree branch to tree branch with speed that the average Junin couldn't match on his best day. Naruto's rage-inspired power, however, made him ever so slightly faster. Although Sasuke had gotten a jump start, his old friend would eventually catch him. When that happened, he'd have to hope that Naruto was close to angry enough. He could only come up with so many good taunts. His shirt was in tatters, and it was close to disintegrating completely. Contemptuously, he tore the remnants off and released them into the wind, hoping to have them land in Naruto's face and enrage him more. It had the intended effect, and more. As Naruto's rage increased, so did his speed, and the Uchiha Avenger suddenly found himself grabbed by the ankle and sent tumbling across the ground. Sasuke barely managed to put his feet between his vitals and the tree that rushed at him, preventing serious injury. Then, as he jumped lightly off the tree onto the ground to look for Naruto, he heard a startled gasp, and changed the focus of his eyes. Before him was a 10-year-old girl with silver-white eyes that were wide with surprise and, not surprisingly, considering the amount of chakra that was flying around, fear. A witness, he thought. Not good. If she tells anyone where we've gone, the pursuit will gain an advantage. By the time the fight is over, I might not have the strength to outrun them. He raised one hand and called forth Chidori. It was not a powerful one, as Sasuke could not afford to waste too much of his dwindling chakra, but it would be sufficient to end one little girl's life. He looked at Naruto. The idiot's too busy howling himself hoarse, he thought. I have time. Indeed, Naruto's battle with Kyubi was reaching a fever pitch inside his head, and he was fighting with all his will to suppress the monster before rejoining the battle with Sasuke. He looked completely harmless to Sasuke's eyes. Satisfied that there was no danger in taking his concentration off the blonde, the Uchiha dashed into K the witness. Naruto didn't see Sasuke move. He saw an enormous paw rattling the bars of a cage, trying desperately to break free. Though he shoved Rasengan after Rasengan at the monster fox to keep it at bay, nothing seemed to keep it down. Trapped in this losing battle, he was blind to the world outside. But then something from the outside did reach his senses. A clear, pure voice crying out to him through the void, pleading him to come back, to take action in the real world. Naruto-kun. It shouted. Suddenly he lost sight of the cage and the paw, and his eyes focused into reality. The voice continued shouting, and it was joined with the barking of a dog. Naruto-kun, please save her. Naruto-kun. Hinata. He rasped. Then, his eyes fully focused, he saw Sasuke. He was only 30 yards away from a young girl who resembled a Hyuga, the Chidori chirping in his palm. The voice echoed in his aching head. Save her. His muscles forgot that they were tired. His mind forgot that it was supposed to be fighting off the advance of the Kyubi. The chakra that he wielded forgot that it was supposed to be used for murderous rampaging. They did what Naruto wanted them to do. Likewise, Naruto forgot that he was fighting anything at all. He knew that Sasuke was about to take an innocent life, and that in itself was abominable. Add to that the fact that someone close to him wanted that life saved, and suddenly saving it became Naruto's #1 priority. The chakra that had once nearly destroyed Konoha bent to Naruto's will and against the will of its true master, and granted the power to protect. Naruto focused it all into his legs and feet and dashed madly for the girl. Sasuke was 20 yards away. Naruto was 25. Sasuke was 10 yards away. Naruto was 17. Save her. Sasuke was 5 yards away. Naruto was in front of him, his arms raised defensively before the target, and Sasuke was moving too quickly to change his momentum. Naruto-kun, yelled Hinata. She and Akamaru had finally caught up, and the girl was staring aghast at the gruesome scene before her. Hanabi remained on the ground, unable to do anything. She had been told, after the Chunin exam where she had first seen it, not to go anywhere near the red chakra. She had been told that it was inherently evil and would destroy her. Hanabi had also sworn that she would not need to be rescued again. Yet, this evil had just saved her life, and somehow she didn't feel so bad about it. Why? She asked the back of the thing. What made you want to help me? The monster's head turned to look at her. A grim and beast smile was on its face, and its red eyes burned with determination. Because, he said, I'm going to be Hokage. Saving people is part of what I do. And because Hinata wanted me to, he added in his head. You're lucky she was here, or I might not have noticed. Hanabi, cried Hinata, come here. It's dangerous. Naruto agreed. Go to Hinata. Get out of here, find my teammate, Sakura, and go home. Sasuke took in all of this with anger. More and more interruptions were taking place. If this keeps up, we'll be found, he thought. And on top of that, Naruto seems to have gotten his control back. The Kyuubi's chakra is in him, but somehow he has direct control. He watched as the girl he tried to K ran to her sister. If she gets away, it could hurt my chances of escaping. I didn't want to have to do this, but winning quickly is more important than irony right now. I have to. Sasuke drew back his free hand and punched at Naruto. The blonde was alert enough to try to duck under it, but the blow connected on his forehead protector, which knocked him sprawling on his back with a hole in his right shoulder. The Hittite 8 headband was dislodged, and skittered across the ground to stop at Hanabi's feet. Well, I suppose that's somewhat nostalgic, Sasuke said. He had a hole there last time I fought him, too. And it's healing just like before, well, it won't after I do this. He fixed Naruto with his Sharingan eyes. I'm sorry, Naruto, he said. But this will be the end of your power. Suddenly, Naruto was back in his mind, and the cage containing Kyuubi was before him once more. Curse you, kid, growled the fox. I was winning, but somehow you still have the strength to make a last stand. And now this opponent of yours is going to lock me away completely again. Naruto felt that it was true, the Kyuubi's chakra was beginning to fade from him. What the? He started. Perhaps I should have done this earlier, Sasuke said, standing behind him. It would have saved me a lot of trouble. Naruto whipped around, staring at him in surprise. Sasuke, how did you get into my mind? The Sharingan is more than a copycat's tool, Sasuke responded. His face was serious, he was planning to finish the fight after this. Hinata and Hanabi, meanwhile, were confused. Naruto-kun, asked Hinata. What's going on? What do you mean, he's in your mind? Is he hurting you from inside? She wanted to help him, but was at a loss at how to do it. Hanabi heard all this and concern grew in her. Her life may have been saved now, but what would happen if her savior fell to this man's mental attack now? The attacker was undoubtedly fast, and could likely catch them if they ran. Their best bet was to help this monster blonde keep fighting. But how can we? Hanabi thought. If his mind is under attack, we can't stop it, and it's too dangerous to approach him physically. The Sharingan guy is watching us even while he's doing this. She peered into the red Uchiha eyes for a moment, then turned away, focusing instead on the forehead protector at her feet. Damn it, those eyes are so weird. Then she brought her eyes up to look at the grounded Naruto. She noticed a strange marking on his forehead. The caged bird seal. How did it get there? But she did not wonder long about where it came from, for fate had cursed her with a good brain, and that brain had an idea. It could work, Hanabi thought, pondering it, but it might not, and if it doesn't work, it will do us more harm than good. She stared at the blonde, whose face was contorted in an effort to fight off the mental assault even as his red power was fading. But, it's the only idea I've got. Bringing her hand up before her and concentrating, Hanabi formed the secret main house seal. In Naruto's head, the cage room quaked and became an inferno. What? Naruto exclaimed. Then the fire caught him, and he was consumed by burning L. He rolled around on the floor of the room in agony, but nothing suppressed the flames. Struggling only made them burn hotter. He screamed. He wasn't the only one to fall prey to it. Kyuubi roared in his cage, his own fire unable to hold back the advance of the blaze. His fur caught the fire, and the fox was engulfed in scathing L. Sasuke, Sharingan eyes wide with shock, tried to leap for the exit, but the exit was gone. The flames were everywhere, and within moments, he too was caught and rolling frantically on the floor in agony. In desperation, he returned to his own body. But the flames had still burned him, and he had to struggle within himself to heal the burns. In the outer world, both Sasuke and Naruto were twisting and screaming under the O of Hanabi's jutsu. After a moment of thinking that Naruto and Sasuke were destroying each other's minds, Hinata noticed her sister's hand position and gasped. Hanabi, she cried, grabbing hold of her sister's hands, what are you doing? You're going to K him. No, Hinata, croaked Naruto, rising to his feet, she did the right thing. Got that bastard out of my head. He peered inside himself for a moment. Hey, Fox, you alive in there? Were you hoping I was D? Came the reply. It can't hurt to hope, Naruto returned bitterly. Well, if you're still here, are you at least going to help keep us alive? You do it. Take my chakra and fight for yourself. I've got my hands full trying to save my fur. Naruto grinned a moment, picturing a giant nine-tailed fox without fur. Okay, he replied. So you're too hurt to interfere directly. Suits me fine. I'll be able to concentrate better, anyway. Slowly, he felt the power return to him. This time there was no arguing over control with the fox. Apparently, the assault had done him harm. Naruto wasn't taking any chances, however. He kept his emotions subdued, focusing instead on accomplishing the goal, defeat Sasuke. Hinata and Hanabi watched as the red chakra surged back into Naruto's body. At first, Hinata was afraid. However, as she watched, she saw that Naruto was not having any conflict within himself, and held himself stable and ready. The Nine Tails, though they maintained a high concentration of the evil chakra, did not burst into flame as they had before. Naruto was himself. Watching Sasuke, waiting for him to pull himself together, Naruto spoke to them. Hinata, he said, his voice once again strong, take her and get out of here. Find Sakura. Akamaru should be able to if he follows my trail home, and then get to the village and call for help. Go now. Hinata nodded. She turned to her sister. Hanabi, she said, you go. Let Akamaru-kun find Sakura-chan like he said, and then send help this way as soon as you can. What? Naruto and Hanabi had spoken as one in surprise. No questions, Hanabi, Hinata said, hoisting her onto the back of the dog. Go, Akamaru-kun. The beast, more than happy to get out of this danger and back to his master, bounded off without giving Hanabi a chance to complain further. Naruto stared at the remaining Hyuga, eyes wide in shock. You, he said, why didn't you go with her? It's dangerous here, you know that. Do you want to be K? I know it's dangerous, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, walking forward to stand next to him. Her Byakugan was active, and her pearly eyes were bright with determination. That's why I'm staying with you. I don't want you to D. I'm a lot less likely to D than you are. He yelled. Sasuke isn't going to back down until one of us wins, and he'll K whoever's in his way. I know how he fights, and I have the Kyuubi's chakra. Look, my wounds are even healing. You don't have that. You could easily be maimed or K. I know. Naruto was flabbergasted. He fumed at her, desperately trying to get her to go home and leave this to him. Is slightly increasing my chance to survive really worth putting your life at such huge risk? Hinata regarded him with passionate, unblinking eyes. To me, Naruto-kun, she said, it's more than worth it. Because to me, your life is as valuable as mine. No sounds would come out of Naruto's mouth anymore. His jaws worked, but there was something in his throat that prohibited sound waves from leaving. It felt like a large lump. How lucky, Naruto, said Sasuke, finally banishing the L in his mind. Here's a girl who says she'll do anything for you, at night under starry skies. But you know, our Team 7 has a tradition. After making such a discovery, the discoverer doesn't return to the village. The Uchiha's cursed seal was pulsing, stretching, encompassing his entire body and wreaking drastic change. Since leaving the village on a quest for black power isn't on your to-do list, one can only assume that you had D. Naruto found his voice again, staring at Sasuke with dread. Oh, crap, this is really bad. Naruto-kun, asked Hinata, what's he doing? That seal is going up to its second level. He'll be stronger than he ever was before, while I, Naruto grimaced, looking over the sorry state of his hastily healed wounds and ragged clothes, am damned near the limit of my strength. Hinata looked at Sasuke through the Byakugan. It was true, the Uchiha was several times more powerful. Then, what do you plan to do, Naruto-kun? Naruto furrowed his brow. I've only got one idea, he said. If it works the way it does for Keisuke Nichan and Haruka, then it'll up our odds a lot. But, I've never done it before, so I don't know if it will work for me. Hinata's eyes grew wide with comprehension. She remembered a time when he had talked about this technique, a jutsu used between two people, that Keisuke and Haruka often used but that Naruto had never tried. Naruto-kun, do you mean? Yeah, Naruto said, sync. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.